Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Tales from the Fandom. Today, I am joined by somebody that I stumbled across on Instagram, and I am very excited to talk to her today. Her name is Marco. You might know her as FrickleFrackleMarco on Instagram or TikTok, and she is joining me today. Marco, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. We were talking before we got started, and one of the things I always like to do is figure out how I stumbled across you. And I believe it was from Ellie, also known as EG Cosplay on Instagram. You both had done a Avatar, the Last Airbender cosplay together, and that was my first time. I think I'd stumbled across your page, and now here we are.
That's so exciting. I love Ellie. She actually invited me to do that photo shoot. And I always wanted to do, the avatar, but just never got around to it. And when she asked me to be Zuko, I was like, oh, heck yeah. So then we linked up together and we shot that. And it was like so much fun.
Awesome. I love Avatar. It's one of my favorite fandoms of all time. So whenever I see cosplayers do it, it's just like an instant let me go check out their other work. And the work that you do is wonderful. You've got a lot of cosplays and you've got a lot of different things that you're into. So we're going to be tackling a whole bunch of fandoms today as we record this podcast. And one of the ones that we're going to talk about is LARP, live action role playing.
Woo, yay. Yes. I actually just got into LARP. So what would you like to know?
What would I? Well, I'd love to know how you got into it. Like, what was the catalyst of you getting into doing LARP?
I didn't even think I have an answer. Oh my goodness. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. I feel like it just appeared. Okay, let me think. So I actually never knew what LARP was. I had to like find out. But I've been to a few run fairs here and there, like about three. So I know it's not much. But when COVID hit, uh, TikTok, is a thing now. And people started bringing their LARP, which I know LARP communities in real life, I will call it, they do in-person LARP. So like some people will either, LARP in the park, or some people will actually they own a bunch of like acres of land and they build this community, they build houses, they build taverns, and they go out every week, well, certain weekends, and they go out and LARP. So when, the world shut down, the LARP community went on TikTok and started continuing their stories on the app or making new ones. So, I started seeing people doing their thing and I was like, that's really cool. I myself really love storytelling when I'm not just like a princess. My passion is videography. So I do a lot of videos. And on YouTube, I do a lot of, specifically right now, the Arcana videos. So I do a lot of Arcana CMVs. So when I saw people on TikTok doing these lives and these stories, I'm like, okay, well, I'm currently shut down in terms of making more Arcana videos. So I need to think of something because I love storytelling and I can't sit for a whole year doing nothing. So again, I saw people on TikTok and then eventually I created a tag with some friends called Elemental Allies and started doing the LARP experience, which is really interesting because I've never done it. But the more and more I saw it as more of a storytelling than LARP, it just all came together and became natural. And that's how I started. I know it's not exciting. I didn't I saw somebody fighting a dragon and like somebody descended from the heavens and like none of that happened to me. I just happened to see on TikTok and like that was it. So it's not exciting, but that's how I originally got started.
Okay. What is it about? What is it about, especially with the platform of TikTok? Because we were talking before we got started, and I was blown away when you had told me that like there's live action role playing on TikTok. Like
Yes.
that is just something that as a person that of who I am, like I don't expect that to be on TikTok. I expect like the
Right?
dances and the funny videos and the stuff like that, but I'd never expected LARPing to go on to something like a something like that.
Yes. Okay, so let me tell you, as the TikTok creator veteran, so the app actually survived because of cosplay. All of us were on it, and then it was musically before TikTok, and then it transferred over, and we were still on the app. And there were so many different forms of cosplay, and especially with LARP. So it's really interesting to see what TikTok is now, which is a bunch of, funny videos, pet videos, dancing videos. But a lot of people forget or don't even know like the originals of TikTok were honestly just cosplayers, just, messing around. And I think LARP got its popularity on the app because a lot of cosplayers would use sounds to do storytelling. Let's say if they had a Moana sound, right? And I'm singing as Moana, I would be dressed as Moana and then, lip sync to that. And then people were like, oh, that's really cool. What if I made an original, character? Because a lot of people did not have cosplays like of official characters, so they would make their own and they would lip sync to whatever was trending back then. And then it just like rapidly evolved and then became its own LARP community on TikTok. And a lot of people who'd been doing LARP, um, like in real life, came onto the app and like it has exploded since then.
Okay, cool. As far as like if I downloaded the app and I wanted to find these LARP TikToks, like what would I have to do to find them?
Finding LARP on TikTok, definitely look up hashtags. You can put in LARP, storytelling, OC cosplays is a big one because you find a lot of original characters. And from there, most of them are storytelling. Interactive LARP, like I said, let's see. I guess anything with like LARP or OC storytelling, OC cosplays, all of that is a great tags to search for in order to find people who are doing original storytelling.
Now, is there like a central storyline going on, or I is there like a website or like a Discord where people join and they're like, okay, we're going to have these characters tell this story like a collaborative storytelling, or is it more just people getting on there with their characters and doing their own thing, but then people bouncing off of those people to make their stories?
So each story on TikTok is different. So like we have people who are doing space tags, we have people who are doing, like the royal stuff, some assassin stuff. We've had people done in the past mafia. Like every tag is different, so you can join whatever story fits you or your preference or whatever you want. I have a tag called Elemental Allies, and it's about elementals and elementals versus humans, and is actually to raise awareness for the current global crisis we have with global warming, our ocean pollution, yada yada yada. So we have elementals who are being pretty much corrupted or destroyed or hurt because of the humans in the tag doing things to the planet that affects them. So we had a character named Noxie who was acid rain. We had characters who, does metal. Her name is Beryl. We did characters of the ocean pollution. Her name is Mimi. So like a lot of things in the tag revolved around the earth. And I have a character named Tuck, which pretty much is kind of like Mother Earth or Mother Gaia. And whatever the players did to affect the earth ultimately affected my character because he represents the planets. So it was really cool to see how people raised awareness for, the global climate changes crisis. Yes. Okay, the global crisis that we have right now. And when we did that last year, before everything hit with COVID like really bad, we actually organized a worldwide meetup for our tag. So people around the world participated by cleaning up their local beaches or their parks or whatever they can get their hands on. And we actually raised about $300 in t-shirt sales for our tag. And then we donated it to a local wildlife in Long Island, New York. So, every tag is different and people either just do it just to play or you can do it like me and we can raise awareness for things in real life.
That's really cool. That's something that I would never have expected, especially on like an app like TikTok. Like, and I
Right.
hate to say that, but it's just there's a definitely a preconceived notion of what the app is versus what could be done using the app.
Right, yeah, and I feel like things like that get definitely drowned it out by the massive amounts of dance videos or just I like funny videos here and there, but there's good being done in that app. Nobody even knows. Like people see me dressed up as Tuck, and then they're like, "Oh, that's neat," but I'm actually raising money for local wildlife, or I'm using him to raise awareness for our, climate change and stuff like that. But nobody knows that because it's being drowned out on the app.
I absolutely understand. Now, with your LARP, do you plan to take your like your LARP skills to like one I guess once Renaissance fairs or live action role playing games start up in person, is that something that you're planning to start doing, or are you just going to stay kind of like in the TikTok, Instagram realm of it?
I don't know. That is such a great question. I guess we'll see how the world, becomes after this whole panini going on. I'm not really sure. I will definitely be taking Elemental Allies to a Ren Fair. I think that'd be pretty cool. But in terms of like if I'm staying on the app or not, I don't know because things eventually come to an end, aka Rip Vine. But I don't want it to end. I guess I'd rather just enjoy it while I have it and then make sure I feel fulfilled enough with my storytelling that when the app eventually croaks, I'm like, yes, I did everything I wanted to do. Compared to like, oh no, TikTok is closing down. I didn't get to do half of the things that I wanted to. So I guess we'll just play it by ear.
Going hand in hand with the LARP is something that you're interested in or that you do is storytelling. And I'm curious to know, is it just constrained to your TikTok and to your LARPing, or are you more of like storytelling in bigger, like in a bigger arena, a bigger setting?
So okay, so I always wanted to do storytelling, but I just never had the equipment. But recently, right before the panini hit, I was actually doing a lot of storytelling with the Arcana game. The Arcana game, I love it so much. It's done by Nyx Hydra. It's about you as the MC, which is main character, and you. Let's see. I'm trying to think of like the plot just to like summarize it really fast. But you wake up with no memories, and you're what is a person who teaches it's not a master, but like like a master and apprentice, magician
Hmm.
teacher. I don't know, whatever. So like your magician teacher is teaching you how to, I guess, come back and try to help you regain your memories, but they don't want to tell you why you lost your memories, where you came from, whatever, whatever. So on YouTube, I took that game because I loved it so much, and I started making original stories, but still using the details from the story that are canon. Like not too much that I twist it to the point where it's its own thing. So I
Hmm.
would take inspirations from songs and then use the characters and then build, kind of like a little video and then post it on YouTube. And I did not know how explosive these videos would get and how much the fandoms love it. So like that's what my work kind of became known for. Like, forget, filming for, Faneuil Hall in Boston, the Stanley Cup for the Bruins. No one cares about that. They want to see my Arcana game video. So, like, it's really funny that I was like, yeah, I want to be a videographer. And I'm over here, filming for Faneuil Hall and stuff like that. And no one cares. They just want to, watch the Arcana, which I'm not complaining about. But that's how I started doing, like, that's what I do for storytelling is their kind of videos as of right now. But eventually I would love to do different things, maybe different fandoms.
With your videos that you do, I'm curious to know like how much. And I guess the question is how much time goes into a video, because and I say that out of very much respect, because in fact I had just tweeted about it, I think yesterday or the day before, about how people that make YouTube videos, it is something that just it blows me away, the amount of work that goes into it that people just have no clue about, like recording and audio and then editing
Yeah.
and transitions, or like the pop-up graphics, or the over like the work that goes into it, because I tried my hand at like just trying to make a video,
Hmm.
and it no, like
Just,
I
just
couldn't,
no.
like it was just it was too it was a lot of like things that I had never tried before. And granted, like that obviously it's like putting in hours of work trying to make something happen. If it doesn't, I'm just like, okay, I'm done. But like how much time do you invest in a video?
Okay, so like let's see. So I always want to stress to the people that want to make CMVs and stuff, like cosplay music videos, get your crew first, actors last. Because when it comes to making a video and producing it, you need your crew members because without them, there's nothing. Yes, you can probably do it all yourself and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you need your crew members to make it happen because it takes a team to produce one video. The way I did it when I was filming the Arcana game, we actually picked a weekend, right? It was like Friday through Sunday, and we would just film all of that weekend. We had Arcana characters, maybe about 8 or 9 of us, and then we had about 5 crew members, and we would just go all weekend. And sometimes we would film into the night. And I'm a really fast editor. I can film an entire weekend and then have the video by done like completely by Monday because I love editing so much. And I have a thing that if my brain is going creative wise, I cannot stop until I produce whatever the heck is on my mind. So like I pumped out videos like all weekend, like filming, and then have them done by Monday night. But definitely that's the way I worked. All weekend, I would definitely recommend having a set schedule. Set it first. I know people say like if you're doing photo shoots with groups of people, you want to ask them their availability. Do not do that because if one person says, I can't do that date, and then you pick a new date, and then another person is like, well, I can't do that date. At the end of the day, people need to accommodate your schedule and your time. So you pick a date, and then people around you accommodate your schedule instead of you trying to accommodate 10 different schedules. So I'd say I guess it's teamwork at the end of the day. You want to film, get those teams together and get people who are dedicated to filming because everybody says yes to be in a cosplay music video, but when it comes to actually doing it, people will drop out like nothing. So definitely get a dedicated group of people to do that.
What is your favorite thing to do with regards to like your storytelling and your CMVs? Like is it editing or is it just like getting to do the actual recording and the processing? Like where do you find yourself drawn to the most?
Ah, you're asking the tough questions. Um, I guess it definitely the finished product editing wise. So like I love editing and seeing it all together because what I'm visualizing is right in front of me. And I definitely have an issue with filming people, right? And then having them like, I don't know, for example, if they're running, right? And I'm like chasing them. And instead of me telling them beforehand, like, hey, you're gonna run, you're gonna take a right, you're gonna dip under this tree, I just tell them to run. And then as I'm going, I can see what's happening behind the camera. So I'm staring at the camera, not the actor. So I'm like, okay, run. Okay, right. Okay, under the tree. No, jump, jump. Like, so I don't. So, like, everything happens as I'm filming it, which I also love doing because you get to see again that it's all coming to real life. But I definitely gotta like communicate with my actors because sometimes they freeze and are just like, wait, what? And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, it's just all coming to my head right now. As you're walking towards me, I can see what's happening and we're just gonna go with it. So I definitely love communicating with my actors to be like, if I'm just yelling random actions, just do it. And, they definitely can you know, do whatever I need them to do. But ultimately, like thinking about it now, it's definitely like the editing and watching the finished product is my favorite or like the easiest thing for me to do.
What do you feel as far as like storytelling goes? Like where do you want to go with storytelling? Do you want to continue with like CMVs? Is there something that you have in your head and you want to work towards something else? Like where do you see yourself going with your storytelling and videography?
I don't know because I really, really love it. Like, it's my passion, but I don't want to destroy it to the point. You know how they say if you turn a hobby into a job, it just becomes like, blech. So,
Uh-huh.
like, that's
Yep.
where I don't want it to go. I obviously, as you know, I'm in many, many different fandoms, and I would love to create as many CMVs as possible for every fandom that I'm in using, original storytelling. Let's see, Disney Princess, for example, right? I would love to have somebody dress as Elsa and sing it into the unknown, but that have it, have you ever heard of the ice castles?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So like I would have it filmed up there or like in the forest, like I love doing things like that for different fandoms. So as long as I can continue filming for myself and for fun, I will doing it as long as I can hold the camera. Like, even if I'm well into my 90s, I will continue filming because I really love doing it. And now that I'm, doing LARP, hopefully I can, not even if I do my own tag filming wise, but if I can, talk to other tag creators that I've seen like their work, like there's a tag called Star Smugglers. I can just be like, hey, I saw you guys on TikTok. I really loved, XYZ plotline. Do you mind if I, you guys come down or I come down to you guys and we can film a CMV, we can make an original story, use song, you know, whatever. So like I would love to do that because I feel like with stories, they're never ending. There's always a new story to tell. So again, I'm gonna be doing this like forever until my
That's
hands fall
awesome.
off.
I love that quote. There's always going to be stories to tell. That is a quote right there.
Yes.
One of the things you mentioned is this Arcana game, and I've heard about it, and I think I mean I've seen cosplayers do cosplay of it, but what is it? I mean, I know you said it's about the main character not like knowing who they are,
Yeah, I don't want to
but
spoil it.
is it a? I assume it's a mobile game.
Yes,
Yes.
it is. Yes. It
Okay.
is a mobile game. It's actually one of those like romance games. And listen, before y'all judge me, I actually don't play romance game. I don't, you know what it was? Okay, so Boston, where I'm from, has a really heavy like cosplay scene. I swear, like they have a cosplay meetup for whatever fandom every single weekend before the panini. But before, the pandemic hit, about like a year or two ago, no, I lied, maybe like 2 years ago, three. But a friend of mine, has showed up to the meetup and they were talking about the Arcana, and like they quoted me, you know, at this meetup, and they were like, "You have to play. This is amazing." Da da da. It's like Mystic Messenger, and I was like, "Oh no, I don't want to play this though." So eventually a few months went by, and I was like, "Oh, that game they were talking about, the Arcana. Let me just download it because the plot sounded mad interesting because it didn't sound like a regular romance. It was definitely it's mystery romance." But without like the cliche, like all these guys loving you and like you gotta pick one. No, it's not like that at all. And it has 6 routes now, and you're the main character, and you get to pick whoever you want. But the game actually had a really intense plot, and you already know how I feel about storytelling. So I got hooked immediately because of the plot, not because of like I love Azra. That is the character that I cosplay. I love Azra. Don't get me wrong, but like I was definitely there for the story, and I stuck with it. And the more and more I played, and got to experience different routes, I got to. I guess I would definitely credit the Arcana for kickstarting my love for storytelling because I saw what they did, and I was like, this would be really cool in video form, and that's exactly what I did. And then it just kind of exploded from there. We had a group called the Arcana fam, and that was before the panini hit, whatever. We had to stop filming because pandemic hit, but the fandom for the Arcana was really supportive for all of my videos. If you are on YouTube, you can watch them. Run Boy Run is our most popular video, but it was just crazy because I was like, oh, let me just film the CMVs because I love this game, and then it just exploded from there. But yeah, that's what the game is pretty much. I don't want to
Now,
spoil it. It's really good. You should play it.
what is it about Azra that draws you to that character?
Stop! I love him so much. Okay. Azra's a magician and has that mysterious vibe. I sound like such a fangirl. Oh my god. Okay, so Azra is a magician, and Azra pretty much Azra's also non-binary, which is really cool because the game is really inclusive with not only people of color but LGBT stuff. So Azra is a magician who pretty much is the main route because there's 6, but like the main storyline would be Azra's, and Azra helps you throughout the route to seek out your memories and figure out this mystery of who murdered Count Lucio. Nobody knows who did it, so Azra's entire route is pretty much figuring out your past, figuring out the mystery of who killed Count Lucio, while also introducing you to the other routes and things like that. So like Azra to me was my first route that I played, so that's what I associate the game with is with Azra. But I definitely love Azra's character, like the way I don't know who wrote Azra, but I love whoever did it, because their storytelling and the way they made his character come to life was like like chef's kiss, like amazing. But I don't know. I guess Azra dress is pretty cool though. Definitely, uh, Middle Eastern. You know, like how they have textured clothing and colorful. You know, things
Hmm.
like that. Like that is definitely what drawed me to Azra. Just the way Azra dresses, very. I don't want to say elegant because it's not. I guess just visually appealing that I really love about Azra and just the character in itself. And if Azra was a real person, I would die myself. I will die for you, Azra. So beautiful. And like that's it. I know that sounds like super corny or super like shallow to be like, oh, Azra's really pretty. Like that's why. But like that's why. Like so pretty. Love it.
I think I had stumbled across the game from another person that had been sharing it. I believe my Strange Life on Instagram had been talking about the game as well, and I love like the inclusivity of it. Like, and that was like one of the big things that kept getting mentioned over and over again was how diverse and inclusive it was. And I've seen some of the like the different cosplays that people have done, and it's something where I'm like, okay,
Are you gonna play,
I
David?
get what's that?
I said, are you gonna play?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really download stuff, but I guess I could
You could. You can
to
just check it
try it
out. I
out.
recommend Azra's route. Okay.
No bias there at
No
all.
bias,
Just
not at all. Nope.
okay. We talked LARP and storytelling and Arcana, and one of those things that you do that kind of incorporates everything, and we've briefly touched on it, is that you also cosplay.
I do. I do cosplay. I feel like you don't.
How did you originally get into cosplaying? Because everyone has their own story on that.
No, you can never reveal my age.
You don't have to reveal your
No,
age.
no, no, I'm kidding. So
Time is fluid here.
do you know Gaia.com? Like GaiaOnline.com?
Of course I do. I'm old.
Okay, so listen. So I was, on GaiaOnline.com and just browsing, and I was really, oh my god, I was like really into Hadalia like back in the day, but this is before I knew what cosplay was, right? And Gaia had forums, and people were discussing something called Anime Boston, and I was like, oh, I like anime and I'm also from Boston. So I'm like, let me just check it out, whatever. So I did. And it linked me to the Anime Boston forum page. And again, I lurked on those forums and somebody was like, hey, we're having an SNK, like Attack on Titan meetup at the Pruden Mall on Valentine's Day. So you guys should come. And I was like, oh my God, what? I was obsessed with SNK. So I was like, okay, I have to go to this thing. So I did, and I fell in love. I dressed up as Ymir from Attack on Titan, and it wasn't very good, but I tried my hardest, you guys. And I fell in love with everybody dressed up in costumes. It was like the characters that I loved. People were referencing the shows. People, were playing around and acting sort of in character, and it became like such a small community at first, and then it expanded so fast. Like I can't tell you what I did like in cosplay when I first found out about it, because like I said earlier, the Boston community for cosplay is pretty big. And we did Six Flags in cosplay, we did Salem in cosplay, we did camping in cosplay, we did everything, driving, like anything you can think of, we all did it in casual cosplay. And that's how I got into it, because of some random person posting in Gaia, online. And then I got transferred over to NA Boston, and then I saw the meetup, and then that's kind of just how it all inspired down to it. And the thing is, I didn't know cosplay was a thing. Like I would watch like Orange High School Host Club, Full Metal Alchemist, and stuff like that, all on my own. And thank goodness I had my what is it, the weep phase alone, because y'all don't gotta see that. That was embarrassing. But yeah, I had that thing all alone, and now I'm here years later, because I think I started in 2013. So I was pretty. I don't say older, but I was older than the usual cosplayers. Some people have been cosplaying since like they were 12, and I was like, what? I've been cosplaying since like I was 20 something. So like I'm pretty old. But yeah, that's how it all started. That's my journey to the past.
Now, when you choose a character to cosplay, are you looking more for a character that you connect with, or are you looking more for a character that you like the outfit, or is it a combination of both?
You wanna know how I cosplay? I okay, so I find a character that I really like, right? And I will stick to that character and that fandom until it dies, and then I will move on to the next thing. I don't know how people can cosplay multiple things at once and then be okay with it. I'm like, I will beat you know, a dead horse. Like I cosplayed SNK until it was gone. I cosplayed Voltron until it was gone. I don't know what happened to my hero. I did Deku, and I don't know what happened there. But I will honestly cosplay until the fandom is gone. They all packed out their bags and moved on to something else. So honestly, it all comes down to what has the best storytelling for me. Because you already know how I am. I love storytelling. So whatever captures me, not only visually but again with stories, is how I pick my cosplays.
Who are some of your favorites that you've done?
Oh no, you're really gonna do this to me. Okay, so we can't count Disney princesses because that doesn't count. That's my job. Um, I really enjoyed my time as Lance from Voltron. He was my favorite. I guess just for like old time's sake, I would probably say when I did Marco from SNK, just because that was my introduction to cosplay, so I have a lot of fond memories for that. So Marco, Lance, oh my goodness, you're really out here making me like think. I don't know, just toss a random one. I really love Ozrog. We'll go back to him. Azra. And then wait, I don't oh, Ladybug. I did Marcus Ladybug for a little bit. And like that's my thing.
Now, I do have to say, as we've been talking, I love scrolling through people's Instagrams to see, characters or what they did. And I have a soft spot for one of the characters that you did, and you did Kita from Atlantis. And not only did you do Kita, but you had like the big stone mask
Yes.
or the stone, the stone glyph. And I love that. That's so cool.
Did you know like that is my first prop ever? I did that just looking at a piece of like a photo on a piece of paper and then just built it. I need to bring her back.
That is awesome. I love that you did her and that you had the stone mask. I love it. I love it
Yeah,
so much.
I need to bring her back out. I've definitely upgraded since then. I really, really enjoy Kira. All those niche movies, the forgotten movies that people like calling them for Disney.
Oh gosh, I call them what is it? They're underappreciated, and
They
I think
are.
I feel especially with that one with Atlantis, if it had come out anytime within the past like 5 or 6 years, it would be so much bigger
Oh, absolutely.
because people are into like steampunk and that type of like
Yes,
scenario and story and what's going on. It was before its time. It was before its
absolutely.
time.
Nope, I agree. Actually, when I did Kita on TikTok when I first started, she was one of the first viral videos that I've ever done. It was with an Elsa who was doing Let It Go, and the sound was remixed as if somebody. Oh, it was somebody had interrupted Elsa, and then Elsa had frozen somebody, and then she continued singing. So I duetted this Elsa as Kita, and Elsa had froze me as Kita, and it blew up everywhere. And then people saw that I did Moana, and now that's my legacy. But yeah, thanks to Kita, that was one of my first viral videos.
Now you say Moana is your legacy. What do you mean by that?
Okay, listen. Moana's actually the reason why TikTok asked me to be like a official TikTok creator because of her. They used me for the commercials when things were first starting to pop off for the app. I got invited to New York. Actually, right before the pandemic, like not even a month, it was in February. I got invited to LA. Like they flew me out, round trip, hotel, paid everything, to participate in, the Black creator, well, we call it Black TikTok, but back in LA and whatever. But like that was the reason why. It's because of Moana, because my videos were just going viral like left and right because of her. And I didn't realize how popular Moana was. At least she is to me, because I'm always performing as her. But online, I don't really get to see as many Moanas. I see like, millions Elsas, Annas, Rapunzels, but not enough Moana. So I'm just kind of like, oh, maybe people just don't like her like that. But when I started doing her on TikTok, it honestly became a legacy to the point where people were calling me the Moana of TikTok. And then that's how people refer me to as. They go, "Oh, that's the Moana from TikTok," or "Hey, this is Marco, that Moana from TikTok." And when people say that, they instantly know who I am. And I've been recognized at parties a lot. There was an incident last year, right before COVID hit, where I was at a party, right? And like there were a bunch of like younger kids, and the kids who are into like TikTok or whatever.
Hmm.
I had a TikTok sweater on, like a piece of merch, and I didn't take it off for the party, and I usually do just to like I don't want to say like not talk to kids, like don't ask me about TikTok, but like I'm working. So they started asking me on TikTok, and they're asking me about TikTok, and I was kind of like laughing around. I was like, "Oh, haha!" Like, I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Oh, like, are you famous? Can you follow me back?" And I was like, "I will only follow you back if you guys follow me." So then I made them pull out their phones, and I saw if they followed me, and one of them did, and she like double taped, and she was like, "Oh, you're the one from TikTok," and I was like, "Oh no, this is why I have to quit my job." They all know, and then once word spread like wildfire at this party that I was like TikTok famous, yo, I was thrown around as a rag doll. And I was only there to film. So like we had a unicorn princess out. So like no one cared about the princess anymore. They wanted to take pictures with me. They want the Moana of TikTok. So then ever since then, it's just been my legacy. I should put that as my bio. The OG Moana from TikTok.
that that is something like I couldn't even fathom that. Just doing something and putting it out there and then just having it go big like that, and then like
Yes.
everything that happened after and going to LA and like that is wonderful.
Yeah, that is honestly, I can tell you right now, like all of those experiences are so surreal because you see it happening to other people. So when it happens to you, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna wake up from this dream like any second now. Like when I went to LA, like Tara Banks was there, Terry Crews, the CEO of like BET, which is like a black entertainment
Hmm.
television channel, and so on and so forth. So like Tyra Banks was like talking to us, and I just like stared at her. I was like, "This can't be real." And then we had like a special. They threw like an after party for us, and they were like, "Oh, we have like a special guest." Da, 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 da. And I'm sitting by the stage, and I kid you not, yo, Doja Cat just rolls up next to me, and I'm like, "Oh my!" Like, and the thing is, like, LA is such a chill experience that everybody was like acting hella cool and I was losing my damn mind. It was during the phase when Say So went really viral with that, like the dance or whatever. So she's singing and I can't even process it because I'm still looking at her. I'm like, oh my God, this is like her. Is this what LA feels like 24/7? Crazy, crazy. So yeah, all of those experiences were super surreal. But yeah, that's what I do because of Moana.
That is incredible. So with your cosplay now, I know, and when we were talking about Kita and the prop, do you still continue to make props now, or is it something where you've transitioned to armor, or is it just everything?
If I can avoid making a prop, I will. But I going back to LARP, Tuck, my character, Mother Earth kind of. So I really loved his character and story arc. I actually started making headpieces for him. Like I did you see like the crown? It was made out of like twigs, but I had sculpted all the twigs myself. I sculpted the crown, everything with it's like plastic beads. I forgot what they're called, but I crafted that all with my hands. I did like a massive flower crown with the flowers coming down on the side. So I started doing that for him, but I can't remember the last prop that I did, and it was probably Lance from Voltron, the armor. So if I can avoid it, I won't do it. But if it's necessary, the magic is in the details for each character that you do. So I will go ahead and do it. As like right now I'm doing mermaids, so I have to make props for them or like seashell bras and things like that. So it all depends if I can avoid it. But 99% of the time I cannot, so I just do it.
One question before we switch over to talking about what else you do is every cosplayer has a list. Everyone. I've talked to hundreds of cosplayers. They all have a list of who they want to work on next. What's on deck for the year essentially, or what they'd like to accomplish as far as costuming goes. Who's on your list? Who do you have?
All right. I love that you called me out on this because I have a Facebook album dedicated to, it says soon, cosplays. And then when I mean soon, it was like 2016 when it was built. So I have Elena of Avalor, Moana Lands, um, characters that I've already done. But I have, wow, I'm looking at my list right now. Oh my god, I'm really happy. I've done like a lot of these. I've done Esmeralda, I've done Bo from Shira, I've done Deku. Okay. So okay. Have you ever heard of Space Channel 5
Yes.
from Dreamcast?
Yep.
Yes, okay. So
Remember,
I
I'm
want to do
old,
Lulu.
okay?
Yes, I want to do Lulu so bad. So I want to do her. I want to do another game called Dark Cloud.
Okay.
I want to do that. I want to do I want to do Thumbelina and Cornelius so bad. Um, that's on my list. Oh my god, Kingdom Hearts Sora. Uh, Krista from Forgelli. Wow, this is like throwback stuff. Roxanne from the Goofy movie. See, these are all just like, and then Alia from Miraculous Ladybug, and then Wendy, and that's pretty much it. Because I've done a lot of cosplays on this list.
That's a great thing.
Yes, I can't believe how much I've accomplished. Guess I gotta look for more cosplays to do.
Now, not only do you cosplay, but you have a business doing entertainment.
I do.
And
That I did today.
I believe it's called Ever After Storybook Entertainment, or Storybook
Yes.
Entertainment, I should say.
Yes, it is.
Now, what does that all involve? Like, are you like the owner and you hire other people as well, or are you
Mhm.
like the sole person and you go out to everything?
I would probably die if I went to everything. So I own Ever After, and I hire performers to perform characters for me, or sometimes I go out myself. But yeah, it's a children's entertainment company. We do pretty much, let's see, we do princesses, superheroes, mermaids, fairies, anything you can think of for children because the limit is your imagination, is what I say.
How did you decide to start this business?
Oh no. I actually had no idea this industry existed. I don't know how I survived the way I did, not knowing cosplay, not knowing party printing. Like, I don't know. So I was at a convention once and I was cosplaying Hetalia, and I actually wanted to start photography. So I had posted online on maybe any Boston forums. I don't know. And I was like, hey, like I'm just starting my photography. Does anybody want to be my test subjects? And then a girl named Sam, she was Rapunzel. So I was gonna shoot Rapunzel, and then we were shooting outside, and she was like, "Hey, I do party princessing. I have my own company. We do volunteer work. Would you be interested in doing Jasmine?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really have a costume, but that'd be pretty cool." So Sam got me my Jasmine costume, the one that you guys see that still survives since 2016. So she bought me the costume. We did our first event. It was a Jimmy fundraiser. And then ever since then, I loved it. Mind you, I came into this industry not knowing anything. I never been to Disney. I never had my special moment with Cinderella and she held my hand as a kid at the park and we walked around. None of that. I came in blind. But I loved it so much because it's not even about being a princess, it's entertaining the children and making those memories. And being a princess is just a bonus. And I say this to everybody. Do you know the Wiggles?
Yes.
Okay, listen. So if I could have Emma Wiggles' job or be a Wiggle myself, I would be one because that's how much I love entertaining children. Like being a princess, yeah, that's cool, that's cute, whatever. But like being involved with the children, like, that's also my passion next to videography.
Why is it such a passion? I'm really I'm really interested to find out why it's specifically that is of yours.
I don't know. I guess so. I started this industry without having any children involved in my life. So like I didn't have any influence. Like let's say if I had like a daughter or a nephew to influence my love for kids, I had none of that. I was honestly thrown into the industry with nothing. So I guess when it comes down to it's just like I don't want to be like, oh, because I didn't have that as a kid. I literally don't care. Like, it just, I don't think they existed in the 90s, especially for characters that look like me. But I guess it just comes down to seeing what you can bring to a child and make that moment matter. You know how because you think, oh, I'm like for me, for an example, oh, I'm just dressing up as Moana and I'm gonna get paid for it. No, yo, like when you go into these parties and the kids start screaming because, oh my god, the real Moana is here, and then they start befriending you, and you sit there for like an hour or two, and they're just rattling about whatever they want, and you aren't you. You are those characters, and whatever you do in that hour makes such an impact on their lives. So like I guess to me, I love the impact my presence can bring as those characters, not me as in Marco, but as me as Moana, because making positive memories for children is ultimately my goal because you want them to grow up flourishing, be their best self, but bringing that magic, there was like no other way to describe it because they believe you are the real thing. And I have a different experience being a party princess, being a black performer, because so like being an Elsa performer, you go in, you're just like, oh hi, I'm Elsa from Arendelle, let me make some magic, whatever. But my experience as a black performer and a lot of other black performers, we go in as either Moana or Tiana, the characters with like more of the textured hair. And I've had incidents where mothers would honestly hire me, or they would bring their daughter along if I'm at an event, and they'll be like, "Hey Moana, my daughter thinks that her hair is ugly. Can you please tell her that it's not?" And obviously Moana has big hair. Maui has very curly textured hair.
Hmm.
Tiana has, also textured hair, and we are brought on to uplift these children and tell them like, hey, the color of your skin is beautiful, or hey, I have big hair just like you. I think it's beautiful. I think it makes you unique. I don't think it's, X, Y, and Z. So like I have different experiences as a black performer than my white counterparts. And it's, ultimately we're making memories, but I have deeper and harder conversations with these kids that will make an impact all the way to adulthood because they're listening to Moana tell them that they are beautiful, that their hair is, it's natural, it makes them different, it makes them unique to embrace themselves. So they will take that advice from Moana and then carry it with them to adulthood. Because I hear from like my white peers, they're like, hey, I wanted to be a party princess because when I was little, I went to Disney World, I talked to Snow White, she held my hand. We walked to Cinderella's castle. We met up with Ariel. And I get to do that now for the kids because those girls grew up with those magical experiences that they've obviously taken, with them to adulthood. And I can do that same thing with children of color.
That I don't really have a response to that.
I know it's a lot, but yeah, a
No,
lot of people don't know that.
I love it. And I don't really have more that I can say. I mean, you pretty much. It's it's
It's definitely a different way to look at the party princess industry other than just me being Moana, because we make positive, obviously positive memories, but we sit there and give these children of color talks like, hey, you know, a lot of children of color get bullied for the color of their skin. So I get brought in as their role model to tell them that I'm also the same color as you are. You are awesome. You are amazing. Your skin color makes you you. Don't let anybody tell you who you are. So like, so it's different. I don't really get to talk about this. So it's a different experience.
well, I'm
And that's what I love doing.
I'm glad that you're able to talk about this because I've had people who do the princess parties and whatnot, and they have the characters that they do, which are not Moana, not Jasmine, not
Yeah.
Tiana, and so I'm getting it from that perspective of them going in. It's more of a business, and connecting to the kids, but not in the way that you are connecting with them. Uh, Particularly with that representation that's finally starting to come out in media, with like especially with the larger companies like Disney doing more of their
Mhm.
animated movies or animated shows of that nature. But it's definitely something where I had never even thought of it in that way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's more of like you don't really know it until you either experience it or someone tells you or that you see it yourself. I actually learned myself. I didn't know it was such a prominent problem. Obviously I grew up with racism, right? And I just forget that it happens to children. Like children of color experience that so young. Like my first time that it happened was I was at a princess ball. Like, why are we having that conversation of like me trying to convince your daughter that her hair is beautiful? Like that's I don't want to say like, oh, like why are you doing that? It's so sad that you should be celebrating just being a child, running around like everyone else, playing pretend, talking to Elsa, talking to Anna, talking to Ariel, but you're sitting with me in a corner as I'm trying to convince you that your hair is beautiful. So like it's so different. Like I was caught off guard when like those experiences started happening because it happens more than once. And it does not happen to just me. It happens to other black performers. So we see the industry so differently from anybody. So like that's why a lot of us BIPOCs and our white counterparts, like we bicker a lot on like why representation matters and that yes, your Moana should be brown, yes, your Tiana should be black, yes, your Lena should be brown, because they don't know that these conversations need to happen. So if you're sending out a pale looking Moana, you're gonna ruin the self esteem of a child that's probably already struggling. Like representation matters so much, and I cannot stress that enough.
Absolutely. In fact, there was somebody that I had recorded with very early on when I had started the podcast, and they did princess parties, and they had done Jasmine. And a year later, they had reached out to me and said, "Can you please remove, my picture of like her as Jasmine, because she's like it's not representation. I am not that character. Like and
Right,
and
right.
I was like, absolutely, like I'm perfectly understandable of why you'd want to do that. And I love that it is moving in that direction and that these characters are available for princess parties and people. And I've really loved seeing that, like the princess parties, especially like because I live in Orlando and I see them
Oh, so they're all over the place.
with uh with that they have the cast of a cast of characters that they do, and that they have the representation for the and it's appropriate representation. It's not like, oh, let me like kind of look and squint a little and see if it is or not.
Yeah, yeah, right, right, yeah. I'm glad that you did that and pulled back, being like, "Hey, that isn't okay," because I feel like more people in the industry could, do the same. But as long as we keep pushing for representation and then get the word out there that hey, children of color specifically don't get to play pretend. Like, yes, I'm here as Moana. Yes, we can run around. But there are some deep conversations that I'm having that you guys will never experience or don't even know about
Hmm.
because I'm sure you guys didn't grow up, with being attacked for the color of your skin or, if your hair is too big, your hair is too, messy or whatever the case may be. Like, so like that's why we stress why these characters need to be portrayed by the people who look like these children because unfortunately they don't get to live the full fairy tale experience because racism follows us everywhere.
Hmm. Now, for your company, out of where do you serve, or business location?
Serve in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Northern Connecticut. But pretty much everywhere. Like I've gone as far as New York. Um, Honestly, when it comes to representation, I will be there. You need me as Moana and who knows Neverland and freaking I don't know what's the other I don't know Agrabah, Masnui, Arendelle, whatever you need me, I will be there. Um, So I guess just those three places. But I go to New Hampshire, I go to Maine, wherever you need me, I will be there. Because at least for myself, these children need representation. So if there's not a Moana available, I will be there to provide that service for them because you don't know who is hurting at a party and who needs to hear from their role model that they are enough. So
Hmm.
yes, but that's where I'm mainly at.
Okay. Well, Marco, we are close to nearing the end here. So, if people have listened to this podcast and they want to check you out on the internet, the social media, whether it's you, whether it's the business, what are the best places to do so? Where can they find you?
You can find me on TikTok under FrickleFrackleMarco. Same thing with my Instagram handle. And yeah, TikTok and Instagram, yes. And then my company name on Instagram is Ever After Storybook ENT. So like short for entertainment. But that is where you can find me.
And
Oh yeah, and like look at my YouTube videos too, my Arcana ones. It's FrickleFrackleMarco on YouTube.
awesome. Well, I will have the links to all of those on the show notes and on the website and Facebook page. So if you've listened to Marco and you want to check out her work or check out the business and want to hire her and have her come do parties, you can, and I'll have that information. And Marco, I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to come here and talk to me about storytelling and LARP and Arcana. But I feel like the most important conversation and education that I just had was the one that we just talked about. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for talking about that, because I think it needs to be heard and shared and just out there everywhere. And thank you, truly and deeply for that.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me here to talk about it and everything else that I love. And I'm sorry I had to spill how much I love Azra here, but I couldn't help myself.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.